This episode is brought to you by Forney Industries, official sponsor of Faction 46 and Nice Motorsports Truck Series teams. Forney offers versatile welding and plasma cutting machines, along with a full line of metalworking accessories for beginners, do-it-yourselfers, and professionals. Forney has everything you need for your next metalworking project. Shop for these top-of-the-line products at forneyInd.com. That's FORNEYIND.com, or at an authorized Forney dealer near you.
Hey there, NASCAR fans. Have you got your copy of the latest edition of NASCAR Pole Position Print Magazine? If not, there's no better time than now to subscribe at polepositionmag.com. NASCAR Pole Position is the only print magazine covering NASCAR. Officially licensed by NASCAR, NASCAR Pole Position Magazine is published throughout the NASCAR season, and each edition is an instant collector's item, packed with great feature stories and photography. The magazine is even mailed to you in a poly bag for those who love to collect NASCAR memorabilia. At polepositionmag.com, you can even find past issues available to purchase. Get your subscription to NASCAR Pole Position and get great NASCAR content delivered straight to your mailbox throughout the season. Learn more at polepositionmag.com. That's polepositionmag.com.
Hey y'all, Rick Houston here, and I want to tell you about my new show, the Moonshine and Motorsports Racing Podcast. I've partnered up with the state of North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources to help uncover the history behind moonshining mountain boys, professional wheelmen, and the backwoods and city lights of the Tar Heel State. In the first episode, I sat down with Winston Kelly at the NASCAR Hall of Fame for a little behind-the-scenes gossip about Junior Johnson's engineering skills.
He's got two things in his hand, pipe wrench and channel lock pliers. And they weren't new. They had been around the block a time or two.
Wasn't the first steel they built, I bet.
No. I think the pliers had been red before, but paint had worn off.
And in the second episode, I talked to a professional hillbilly, a.k.a. Dr. Daniel Pierce of UNC Asheville, to find out the real history of moonshiners and their battles with the revenuers.
He wrote about one of his experience of trying to chase down this bootlegger in this souped-up car, and he complained that the government gave him these piece of crap, cheapo cars, and that were really no match, but he thought he was doing pretty good, and then the guy just hits it and just takes off and practically disappeared. But then the guy makes a bootleg turn and comes back towards him. And as he said, it was a game of chicken, and I was a chicken. And so he ran off the road. And actually, he was the guy who caught Junior Johnson at his daddy's steal when Junior got tangled up in a barbed wire fence.
So check out the Moonshine and Motorsports Racing Podcast, available on YouTube, dailydownforce.com, and all of your favorite podcasting platforms. And be sure to check out my regular show on NASCAR history, the Scene Vault Podcast.
Eric Estep here. One of my favorite parts of being a NASCAR fan is collecting diecasts. It's how I got my start on YouTube, actually. To me, a room is not complete until it features shelves of NASCAR diecast cars. It's as good a time as ever to continue your collection or begin an all-new one by pre-ordering your favorite driver's 2022 Next Gen diecast at lionelracing.com or at any authorized Lionel retailer. Lionel is the official diecast of NASCAR, and don't miss Lionel Racing's NASCAR Authentics diecasts at a Walmart or Target near you. Not only is Lionel the official diecast of NASCAR, but they're also official supporters of the Out of the Groove podcast network. So what are you waiting for? Head to lionelracing.com to order your favorite driver's 2022 diecast.
Hello, folks, and welcome into the next episode of Next Gen Creators, the Daily Downforce podcast, where we talk to the next generation of NASCAR content creators. I'm Joshua Lepowski here with the Daily Downforce. Hey, be sure to follow us here on social media at Daily Downforce on Twitter and Instagram. Send us a message on Twitter as well, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, the Daily Downforce on Facebook as well, and visit dailydownforce.com for some daily NASCAR content. We have all of that for you. Be sure to head over there to talk about some of the hot topics in NASCAR, and we keep up with all of that, so be sure to head over there. Meanwhile, I'm Joshua Lepowski, and we are set for a new episode of Next Gen Creators with a very interesting guest, RealRadman. You know him as RealRadman on YouTube, someone that one of the most vocal voices in NASCAR gaming particularly, has also given his fair share of opinion takes on NASCAR, the sport as a whole, but someone that really lately has been really vocal in the gaming sphere. And really interesting to hear his thoughts, particularly with iRacing recently getting the NASCAR console gaming license. So we talk about that. Also talk about his story, playing the NASCAR games growing up, and what it was that got him into YouTube, and how he has developed his YouTube channel, and how he's been able to kind of fill in some of the gaps of the lack of gaming content, or new gaming content, I should say, that NASCAR has had, and how he's been able to fill in some of the gaps, and how he is attacking that challenge, knowing that a new NASCAR game is not coming out until 2025. Again, it was a great conversation with Malad. Without further ado, this is Next Gen Creators with RealRadman. All right, folks, and now it is time to welcome in RealRadman, as you know him on YouTube, here into the newest episode of Next Gen Creators. So, Malad, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Malad, I guess we'll start here. Just tell me, as someone, you grew up in Miami, you've discussed that in your in your YouTube videos before. You're from Miami, not necessarily NASCAR country you would think of it necessarily. So how did you, someone from Miami, become a massive Jeff Gordon and NASCAR fan growing up?
It all started when I was just a kid playing with toys, and my parents got me some toy cars. And it kind of started from there. It started from toy cars. Like, literally, that is where it started from. I had like a Chevy convertible little toy car and all these things. And I had like a little bucket just full of toy cars. And some of them were NASCAR stuff, and some of them were just normal cars. And then as I got to like 4, 5, 6, I started understanding what, sports was basically. And I got into sports really big. Like the first sport I played consistently was basketball, but the first sport I was like watching on a consistent basis was NASCAR. My parents did not watch NASCAR. I had no family members that ever involved in racing. Now it probably does help that NASCAR, like, during that time, early 2000s, was like really booming. So I don't remember what the TV coverage was like, but it was on like Sports Center, and it was on stuff like that. And so that's kind of how it started. And then I just it was like one of the first things I really, really loved. I liked all sports. So like I definitely liked football and basketball. And oddly enough, like I'm the biggest like European football fan now, but I didn't get into that until late high school. So like when I was a kid, it was all American stuff. And NASCAR was definitely the first one along with basketball, and that's just how it started. It really is just because of toys, which is, how it gets started. And then the gaming side of things as well, because when I was playing like a lot of PS2 stuff, and I would play Madden, but I would also play NASCAR games. And so I think that's what also kicked it off as well.
Did you have a favorite NASCAR game growing up? I got to ask you that. Favorite NASCAR video game?
It was Thunder 2003, because I bought it from Blockbuster. So I didn't have the actual cover of the game. I just had the Blockbuster cover art, like they just used their own boxes. I had that, and so it just had a sticker that said NASCAR Thunder 2003. That was the game I played for a very long time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting, because like most people, when they say their favorite NASCAR game, they'll either say like NR 2003, NASCAR Thunder 2004, 2005 Chase for the Cup. You don't hear Thunder 2003 as often, so that's interesting. Did you, out of curiosity, like, did you own any of those other games growing up, or was 2003 the only one that you owned?
I did not get a PC until I kind of started YouTube. So yeah, as a kid, I never knew about PC gaming or anything like that. Or even sim racing in general. I just did not know about those types of things. So NR 2003, I never knew about. Like I never really played it much until I started growing up a little bit. 2005, I did have. That was also another game that I played a lot. 2004, I never had. I don't know the reason. Maybe it's because I was playing 2003. I don't really know, but yeah, 2004 I never had. So that's why when I actually played it on the channel, I really like fell in love with it because I never played it. It was genuine. I never played that game.
Yeah, I remember that. I watched that series. I think you did I think your original one, what'd you do? Like, was it 3 seasons or something like that until
Yeah,
you
we've
got won a
done
championship?
two different series on it, 3 seasons. It seems like it takes 3 seasons to win a championship on there, and so everyone really liked it. They wanted me to bring it back, so I brought it back. So yeah, I did too. I'm probably never bringing it back again. There's 2 series done on it, but yeah, it's a terrific game. Seriously, like if there was ever a game that I would want to be remade, it's actually that one.
Really, that's interesting. But even then, like with Thunder 2003, like, that was kind of, when I didn't play Thunder 2003, but when I was doing some research for an article I wrote for Pole Position on like the history of NASCAR gaming, Thunder 2003 was kind of where a lot of those features that were in Thunder 2004, particularly in the career mode, that's where a lot of that kind of got their start. So Thunder 2003 is I would actually argue probably more impactful than I think some people maybe even give it credit for, I would argue. So, it's interesting that you kind of give Thunder 2003 that light and that you have those memories of it, because I think sometimes people gloss over it. And I think that it really is a game that has a lot of impact on NASCAR gaming, I would argue.
Yeah, especially the soundtrack as well. It's lived up. It's lived up pretty well.
Every EA NASCAR soundtrack was really incredible. So, and you mentioned how you didn't get into PC gaming until you started YouTube. So like, where did the whole YouTube thing start out during your time frame? I remember I think the first video I watched of you, I think oddly enough, was maybe your NASCAR Heat Evolution review, which I don't know if that's necessarily a good memory of yours, because that game, I remember it at launch. That game was terrible when that game launched. But that was the first one I remember of you. But I think you started before that. So like, when did YouTube become a thing?
It was around that time. Yeah, NASCAR Heat Evolution 2016. That was the kickoff start. I think I started like in May of that year. So then I think the game released like a few months later. But that's when this channel kind of kickstarted. I was just doing random stuff like sports reviews or like Rocket League or just trying to find something. And then the NASCAR stuff started, and I kind of found that little niche of no one was doing it. So then the views started to go up, and I got like 500 subscribers, 1,000 subscribers, 2,000 subscribers, and you kind of kick on from there. But it was May 2016. I was freshman heading into sophomore year of college. And it was just a hobby. That's really it, because I was already working part-time at a gym back by my home. So it was just literally a hobby. Like, just I was bored, and my friends were also trying to make videos. Like, we were all trying to figure out like, how do we make videos and stuff. And so they kind of started, they helped me out with video editing. I had no idea how to do video editing. So then I kind of learned from them. And then, yeah, just kind of some of the videos around the NASCAR gaming side just kind of blew up. I just found that little gap that no one was doing it. And then, yeah, people started watching. And then we had the yearly releases that obviously helped. So you had Heat Evolution, and then Heat 2, and then Heat 3, and then Heat 4. And then in between that, I had all the classic games and stuff. And then iRacing as well, when I hopped into that. So, yeah, it all just kind of started around there.
I remember this because during this time frame, like when I was playing NASCAR video games and stuff like that, I didn't grow up with the EA NASCAR game. So I played U-Technics, and NASCAR Heat was kind of what I grew up with. So, I remember like personally, like I would always look forward to your reviews on those games, because they would determine whether or not I would want to get those games or not in some of those that time frame. So you really were, as you mentioned, you were filling in like this little niche kind of that people were looking for when it came to NASCAR gaming. You've kind of continued to do that. And even also at the same time, you've also spent some time in some of the other videos I saw of you early on were a lot of your race reviews, where you talked about the status of NASCAR kind of as a whole. So kind of at that same time, you were doing a lot of different things. You were talking NASCAR game, but you were also talking NASCAR as a whole. So like during that time frame, were you kind of like, and you still do a little bit of both. So you do kind of have that hybrid in there with your channel that I noticed. But where did kind of some of those NASCAR race review things start out during that time frame?
I think it started along with the gaming side. I always wanted to do that. So it was always both of those. Like, I always wanted to do the gaming side, but I also wanted to talk about NASCAR in real life as well, because I was watching it my whole life. I felt like I had opinions that were knowledgeable. So like, if people want to watch other people that have cool takes or, are just knowledgeable about the sport, and maybe you can learn from them. So that's how, at least that's what I felt. So I was like, I'm just gonna talk about NASCAR. I don't really know. All my friends didn't watch NASCAR, so I was always like the NASCAR guy. So they always said I knew a lot about it. So I just started talking about the races and giving my opinions, like on the racing, the racecraft, little stories and stuff like that were happening. I was a lot younger, so it was more. I was still in fandom mode. Like I was a Chase Elliott fan because Gordon retired, so I went into a Chase Elliott fan, and then so it was still like a little bit of immaturity just of being a fan. And then over the years it grows on, and now it's just a fan of the sport. So like during that time, over those years, I was not a fan of the Gen 6 car, so I would try to be very vocal about that. And just certain things NASCAR were doing, like the 550 horsepower package, not a fan about that. So all those controversial topics that were going on in real life that people would tweet about and stuff like that, and I would tweet as well, I would just make those into topic videos, basically, where people could comment and talk about it, and I would just give my opinion, and everyone else could give their opinion, and that would be that. Now those like opinion videos have kind of stalled a little bit now, mainly because I like where NASCAR is. Like I don't have much to say. I like the car, even though it has its issues. I like what Steve Phelps is doing with the schedule. I like the overall aspect of where the sport is. So I'm not out here making a NASCAR's in deep trouble video that I made like 6 years ago that has like 300,000 views, but I don't need to be controversial anymore because I like where it is. So the race reviews still continue on where we talk about that kind of stuff. I sadly missed the one at the Roval because I missed the race, so I couldn't talk about it if I didn't watch it. And so, yeah, it just keeps going on, and I have a lot of fun doing it. I think a lot of people do as well. So.
Yeah, I remember some of those earlier, race review videos. I remember the one I remember from you vividly is when Chase Elliott got turned by Denny Hamlin at Martinsville in 2017. That was you were upset after that. And by the way, I totally understand why you were, because he got flat dumped. But I do remember some of those, and I do remember how vocal you were about the Gen 6. I think you referred to the Gen 7. I think maybe you referred to it as your baby. Don't quote me on that.
I think
you did.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You did. But I do remember that, like you did. And the one that was so interesting about that I thought was cool was I remember you talked about the Gen 6, like an X3 version of it that NASCAR was testing, stuff like that. So you did provide a lot of very informative knowledge on that topic that or on topics that people probably wouldn't have found in other, or probably wouldn't have found normally because maybe they don't know what to research, that sort of stuff. But kind of during that time frame, you're kind of developing this you're developing all of these different ways, these different niches that you're putting yourself into. So how as YouTube kind of evolved for you over time, you said it was started, if I understand correctly, you started out, it was primarily a part-time hobby type of a thing. How has that evolved over time into maybe becoming more of a job for you as time's gone on?
Yeah. So so there was a time I took a break. I think it was as COVID hit, 2019, 2020. If someone could go back on the channel and look between 2019 and 2020, there's a 6-month period where I didn't upload. Like I literally just took a break. So when COVID hit and everyone was at home, that's when I went back. And I think I needed that break to restart, like just having passion again. And as COVID hit and it goes on, that's when I think NASCAR Heat 5 just released, and then NASCAR 21 Ignition and Motorsport Games start like coming onto the scene. So that's when it started becoming a full-time job. It was like 2021. Because 2020 was COVID year. 2021 is when it became a full-time job. That's when I think I started like a NASCAR Thunder 2003 series, and the views and the subscriber counts were up, and the revenue was up, and everything was going up, and I was uploading every single day. So then I made it a full-time job there, and the revenue was good enough to where it basically like supplied that. And not supplied is not the word, but it proved that it could be a full-time job. The money was there and I had fun doing it, so I just kept doing it. So that's when it became a full-time job, was 2021. So 2021, 2022, 2023, and it still is my full-time job now. Now from 2021 to 2023, 2021 was the most successful year. That was like the best year because the hype was through the roof and everything. And then Ignition comes in and it flops. And so the hype kind of dies down. 2022, 2023, without any new content, it has been difficult to keep going, but I have been able to do it somehow, mainly because of the people that watch and the Patreon and all that stuff. So and even in the last 2 months, it's evolved again. So I would never stream. Like I was not a streamer. I was just making videos. And now I'm streaming iRacing like 2 to 3 times a week. And so that's another part of the channel evolution. So it changes over time. And my hope is that in the future, and we'll talk about it, I guess, coming soon, is that the content will come again, like new content. Because like, unfortunately, as much content as I want to make that I try to make that's new and fresh and exciting, I need help. Like I can't be playing old games forever. So we're heading into year 3 of basically no new content, and I'm still going. So it's good. I just need to keep going a little bit longer, and then hopefully that new content will arrive.
Yeah, I remember you bringing it up in some of your I don't know what I can say, but like whenever you made videos about like motorsport games and stuff like that, you know, you talked a lot about how, you know, you really need the new content for video games, but you still found ways to keep yourself relevant. So, you know, can you kind of take me through kind of like that timeline of when you realized you were going to have to make some changes to keep yourself relevant, and where did the ideas start coming in for you about playing some of these older games, playing these games like NR 2003, playing, you know, doing these like let's play videos of these like older NASCAR video games? I remember you would play games like NASCAR the Game 2011, NASCAR Inside Line, like games like that, or even like the older games like the EA NASCAR games. Kind of where did that give me kind of that time frame of where like the motorsport games hype was dying down because 21 Ignition was a flop, and now you had to adjust, you know, give me that time frame.
It really is on the fly. I'll be completely honest. Every month feels different. One month you could be like, oh, this is great. I'm good. I got content for like the next few weeks and and then the next month you could be like, I don't really know what to make. It can be difficult, but it's really like, as a content creator, it is just as simple as you'll have ideas come to you in the most random places. I could be at Publix and like I'll just be thinking of something. I'm like, oh crap, I can make a video out of that. Or what's really been helpful in recent months is that I do have a Patreon, and from the Patreon there's a Discord, and the Discord members will often pitch ideas as well. Like, hey, check out this, look at this, try out this. And we just see what sticks. Like, really, it's like, how many people want to watch that? Will it stick? And usually it has to be NASCAR based, and it has to be something with that. And then we'll see. NR 2003 is actually the one that I still have like on the back burner. Like, it still is something that I do want to put on the channel, but the problem is there's so much you can do there that the actual level of content is kind of like, it's too much. Like, I don't know what to pick in there. So I will get to NR 2003 most likely later this year to next year. But I need to find something that's creative within NR 2003 that will stick. It's not just as simple as, you know, just playing NR 2003. It's finding a cool series or something that people want to watch and get involved in. And that's kind of how it goes. Like, you just gotta trial and error it and see how it goes. So yeah, and the streaming in the last 2 months has definitely been a very big change. That initially I did not like streaming, but now I'm having like a lot of fun with it. And I'm getting back to like 2018 when I was on iRacing a lot. I still never streamed. I only made videos, but I'm having a lot more fun genuinely streaming iRacing and having fun with my friends. And I kind of finally found that that spark again, like that I had back then. Like at multiple times in my life, like NASCAR 9 with my friends before I ever did YouTube, and 2018 on iRacing with my friends. So it's kind of been resparked there as well. So it always changes. Like, it really, I can't predict what I'll be doing 2 months from now. Like, it's just, it's always changing.
Well, that takes a lot of creativity, and I'm certain that that's a very, you know, that's tough to do for a long time. So I'm certain that takes a lot of creative energy, all that sort of stuff. What is it that keeps you going with that creative energy? Because I'm sure that can be hard to look at your content list for the next couple weeks and think like, man, how am I gonna like what type of content am I gonna do on this day? Because, you know, what are we going to talk about here? So, you know, how do you kind of keep yourself going even in the midst of when you may have those like creative blocks of not being sure what you're going to do?
it's okay, honestly. Like it's YouTube is I'm grateful to be in the position I'm in with like over 76,000 subscribers and doing this as a full-time job, because the people that watch help me. So it's not that bad. Like people are in much worse situations. I don't have to work a 40-hour office job where I'm bored out of my mind 9 to 5. Like I don't have to do that. So as long as I can continue just having fun, which I am, then that's all that matters to me. Like it's really the whole creative blocks and stuff are annoying. Like they're not ideal, but I guess it's been so long that, in an ideal world, 2022, 2023, I've had new content, like, and everything's booming and everything, but that's just not the case. But 2 weeks ago, I didn't know when there would be new content coming in the long-term future. Now I do. So, and it's literally the best situation for everybody, for me, for the community, for NASCAR themselves, for iRacing. It's best situation for everybody. So now I know in 2025, like there will be new content coming, and I just got to kind of keep pushing and keep going until then. And I'll find a way. Like it's not a problem. So as long as I'm having fun, if I'm having fun, I think people are going to want to watch. As long as I continue being myself, they'll be fine. So it's really not like YouTube's not a real job, and I kind of do agree with that. It is not a real job. But it does have stresses and stuff, like as every other job does have. But I'm really happy to be doing it. So any adversities that come its way, it's okay.
That's a really cool mentality to have, because I think sometimes, especially if you do something for a while, and even I have to be reminded of this too, doing what I'm doing, it's one of those things where, you realize that, you're doing something that you love, and you're doing something and you're discussing topics that you're passionate about, rather than going to an office and looking at spreadsheets for a milk company 9 to 5, and that's not it, and that's really cool that you have that mentality. And I do think, that everybody that's in this realm of, for you being a content creator, for me being more somebody that's in like, media and that sort of stuff, content creation to some extent, not quite like you, but, sometimes you need to be reminded of that to some extent. And that mentality is a really cool mentality to have. And it's really interesting. And that's really awesome to have. So, speaking of there being some new content coming out, you've given your thoughts on your channel about iRacing and them getting the new NASCAR license. And, you've talked a lot about like, realistic expectations for the new game, like talking about like, okay, like understanding this first game is going to be probably a little bit more on the, it's probably not going to have all the features that you want to have because it's the first game. I want to ask you about what's your ultimate wish list for like 5 years down the road. iRacing's put out 3 or 4 NASCAR console games. What is your ultimate wish list for a NASCAR console video game that you'd love to have?
For it to be its own thing, for it to be fun, for it to bring the community together. That's kind of like the main thing. Like I don't need it to be a 10 out of 10. IGN gives it a 10 out of 10. It's the greatest thing ever. I don't need that. I just want it to be fun, and for it to have a community, like an online community that they could do league races and let the content creators just do what they do. Not just me. I mean, people are going to post clips and everything on there, kind of like how iRacing does now on iRacing. But the main thing is for it to be its own thing as well. I don't want it to be associated with PC iRacing. That's not what I want. PC iRacing is awesome, but it is not something that the majority of kids and normal people can get into. It is stupidly expensive when you have to add everything up. Console gaming is not like that. Console gaming, you just need a console, buy the game, have a controller, sit on the couch, you can play. That's what it should be. And so that's my hope for it. And that they can replicate those single player adventures that everyone likes, like career modes and challenges and stuff like that. And while also having an online mode that works and is not glitchy and everything, and creates its own community, maybe even its own esports era thing that out of it. So iRacing has their version of esports, and they could also have a console version of esports, and maybe think of some cool ideas to pin those two together. But that's my hope for it in terms of 4 to 5 years from now, that they just make consistent games that make people happy, that are solid, like at least bare minimum really good, and continue improving and get the most important thing is get people into the sport that were not into the sport previously. Because one of the reasons why I have been watching NASCAR my whole life is because of the video games. And I know for a fact there's a lot of kids right now that instead are playing Fortnite or 2K or FIFA and those stuff, which is fine. I played those too. Well, not Fortnite, but I played those other games as well. But there is no NASCAR option. So then the entry is just barricaded right now because you're not going to get through it because there's also so many other it's a different world. I'm not going to sit down on a Sunday as a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old and watch something on TV for 3 hours. I'm going to go on TikTok or YouTube and watch something that way. The way we consume content is so different. But the actual video games that are provided to us, we still play. Like that's still a thing that is still going to happen. And that is a way of getting new fans, especially younger fans, which is NASCAR is desperate for, into it. And they need to take it seriously in terms of getting the console side of things going, because for the last, 3 to 4 years, especially, it has not been doing well. And they need to focus on it. And now they have the company that is the best in the business that will give it the most care. They have that. So NASCAR and iRacing need to work together in terms of bringing that together. And if they can do that, I'm happy with it.
I really find it interesting what you said about like these young kids that won't sit down for 3 hours and watch something on TV because, let's be honest, Milad, you could probably agree with this. How many of us, no matter how big of a NASCAR fan we were as a kid, how many of us actually sat down when we were 6 years old and watched a race from front to back? Just be honest.
If Jeff Gordon DNF'd on lap 40, I wasn't watching.
No, like, I was a Jeff Gordon fan growing up too. So like, I get it, like when you're a kid, like if Jeff Gordon fan DNF's like, okay, why should I care? That sort of stuff. So, you need to find creative ways to appeal to that. And a video game is a way that you can do that in a lot of regards. And that makes it very, it makes it tough when you don't have that basic thing that's going to be there. But you feel, and I can tell, you have a lot of confidence that iRacing is gonna make something and is gonna make something really good that's gonna benefit a lot of people within it, not only you as a content creator, but also benefiting the people playing the game and that sort of stuff. So when you take a look at that as a whole, you mentioned the online mode specifically. So like when you say in online mode that works, to you, like, what is it about online racing in NASCAR that really needs to change? Because I know this, like for me personally, like a lot, like even back in the NASCAR Heat games, like even to an extent, the Technics games, to some extent too, like the online racing was either buggy and glitchy or it was really hard to get into. So like what to you needs to change with online racing particularly?
They need to kill matchmaking. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it in F1 games and most racing games where you just enter a lobby and you get put with random people in a short race. They need to kill that idea. That needs to stop, like, immediately. They need to really go back to the NASCAR 09 days, which was the most popular, best version of any online racing game I've ever played, where there's ranked and there's unranked, and you can host your own lobby. You don't need 43 drivers. Like this whole obsession with getting 40 full field online, you're only getting into trouble because you don't need that. Set it to 25. Like if it helps the servers, set it at 25, set it at 20, something like that. Let people host their own lobbies on your server. Show the names, show the information of the lobby, and let people choose how they want to race instead of throwing someone into a matchmaking session and then everyone wrecks in a turn one because you don't know anybody. That's the biggest issue with online racing. And in Formula One games, which I also play, I don't play online for that exact reason of if I want to just go race, I have to go into a matchmaking session that it's going to put me with a bunch of random people and I don't know how they race and they're going to wreck me. We don't do that. On iRacing, you can choose where you race. Now there's certain splits and everything, but you can choose like if you want to do an official race or if you want to do a hosted race. So I think iRacing will do it the right way. And have that, because that's very important for people to have fun online. Like as much as I want the single player to be great, especially for me, for content reasons, I do want the single player to be great. For also content reasons, online has to be great too, because if you can make your online work, you will have basically long-time players, a long-time community with the league racing and everything that has to be involved. So Yeah, if they can get that done the correct way, I'd really, really, really appreciate that. But I think it will take time. Like it takes time. You know, these things are trial and error, especially for iRacing when it comes to the console side of things. It will take time for it to work.
Well, I mean, it always does take time for games to be created, and it takes a lot of time for some of these things. And you know, to you, you know, I mean, you mentioned it. You know, I mean, you're not, you know, going into specifics about what you want single player wise, but like, you know, you just want it to be something that the community likes and is entertaining and that sort of stuff, and you want it to be able to be something that the community can rally around. And you know, NASCAR games haven't had that for a long time. I mean, you know, I mean, even, you know, I mean, I'll admit, because I remember this, and I'm sure you do too. Like, you know, people look back on like the Technics era NASCAR games with a lot of fondness. I remember when that game was out, there was a lot of people that didn't like those games. Do you like you remember that, don't you? Like how much people hated on those games when they came out. Now they look back on it, like maybe it wasn't so bad in retrospect. But do you remember that out of curiosity? Like I do. I want to see if I'm the only one that remembers it. But
Yeah. So NASCAR 09 is when like the whole for me the whole group really started. I still talk with people, race with people from that era. That was the best. So NASCAR 09 server shut down. And you go to Technics. We never played 2011. I was still in touch with my friends from NASCAR 09. Nobody ever played 2011. The servers are broken. Game was broken. No one played it. Inside Line comes out, I think 2012 they take a break, and then Inside Line comes out February 2013 if I'm correct. Inside Line comes out and it works. Like it's buggy and glitchy still, and it's not great, but the driving of the cars was really, really good, and there was like a skill gap and everything, and we managed to get the league racing back going on Inside Line. So Inside Line and NASCAR 14 were buggy, yes, but they were able to, at least on the online side of things, they were able to sustain league racing and everything. So we raced on it and we played a lot, had a lot of fun on those games. And then after that, you know, the NASCAR Heat era came out, and basically everyone jumped over to iRacing. I was late to iRacing. I joined in 2018, but even around 2013, 2014, people were already jumping over to iRacing. So, yeah, those games aren't, I think in my opinion, should not be looked upon greatly, but they have some really good aspects on it. Like Inside Line and 14, definitely, in terms of, I mean, if you go to Atlanta, it's awesome. Yeah, how the car gets sideways and it feels heavy and stuff. So there are things you could take from those games that maybe iRacing can implement into their own games. So we'll see.
I do remember, like in Inside Line particularly, the driving model was really good. Like
it was fantastic.
It was a great driving model. The problem was in single player, the AI were pretty bad, but like, you know, I remember they'd like break randomly on a straightaway, like all sorts of stuff, but like still, like, you know, the driving model was really good. But I'm curious to hear this from you, because you're someone, you know, you mentioned you've made a lot of friends through leagues on console NASCAR games and that sort of stuff. And, you know, a lot of those people have moved on into iRacing. You know, some of them, I know, like, I remember Revan from Newark, I think has moved on since from hosting leagues. But, you know, do you feel there's still a place for league racing and console gaming with iRacing existing as it is? Because some people could argue that, you know, NASCAR gaming, you know, iRacing kind of holds that candle for league racing because of how realistic it is. Do you feel there's still a place for that in console gaming?
Yeah, because there's still so many people that can't afford iRacing. I have subscribers tell me all the time that they don't want to spend 1,000 on a PC and then 100 on a membership and then 300 on buying all the NASCAR tracks and cars and then another 200 on a wheel and pedals, just basic wheel and pedals, $200. We're talking like $2,000 of that. It's just too much. Like, it's just too much. So there are so many people out there that still play NASCAR Heat 5, that still, you know, want to do league racing that way, but they've stopped because obviously, you know, the servers aren't working and stuff. But if you get something working, they will definitely go there, because there are still so many people that don't do league racing or don't do iRacing vigorously because they can't spend, like, genuinely, to get all the tracks, the NASCAR tracks, the 23 or 24 of them that you want, you have to spend, what is it, 11 or 13 per track. Yeah, $300. So it's like, it's just too much. So I'm not blaming iRacing for that. That's just the way it is. It's very, very good. It's a subscription-based model. I get it. But for the majority of people out there, as many people as there are on iRacing, there are more people that aren't on iRacing and are hoping actually to hopefully get a good console game working and maybe do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right with iRacing is that you have to remember with iRacing what you're buying. I mean, you're buying a motorsport simulator. You're not really buying you're not buying a video game as much as you're buying a simulator. So,
Yeah.
I mean, of course you play it, but still, you have to understand that. But yeah, I mean, I was curious about that just because, I felt like because league racing has kind of become you don't see it in consoles anymore just because of how impossible it was to develop one. Like I remember starting with like NASCAR Heat Evolution, I think it was, where like you couldn't make a private lobby and like, how impossible it was to even create something like that. It's sad to see, where now, someone can't develop something like that on a console, which would which would seemingly be the best place to do it because of how easy it is for people to access it.
Yeah, it will come back. It will come back. It just needs to work. And I'll do both. I'll still league race on iRacing, and then I'll go league race on the console game too. It's just they are different things. Like iRacing is more stressful, more serious. Like that is how it is. And on the console side, you get to be more relaxed, but still have fun. So it's a little bit of a balancing act that they can definitely get. They can definitely get. It will definitely come back. It's just been a long time, and then you're going to see a lot of kids get involved in it again, and then they might still make that jump, but the whole point is get you into NASCAR, get you involved, get you want to play the game, and then maybe want to get into racing and then fall in love with racing, watch NASCAR, and then maybe when you're 16, 17, 18, you start working a part-time job, you want to, your parents can't buy you $2,000 worth of PC and iRacing cut stuff, but maybe you save up enough money and you can pitch in a little bit and then they help you with the rest. Next thing you know, you're on iRacing. So like, it's kind of like a little journey through there that I know people would like to do. I literally half of my Discord don't have iRacing. They watch me play iRacing, but they don't have iRacing because they can't. It's just too much.
So you mentioned, as we're kind of on this topic of leagues, you mentioned how a lot of those people that you played with, back in the NASCAR 09 days, you're still in contact with them to this day. So, can you walk me through kind of some of those relationships and some of those, some of these people that you really are well connected with that, you developed a lot of memories with that, you're hoping maybe you can develop more with on a new video game, or even that you still are with on iRacing?
Yeah, it's a little bit different now because people know who I am. So like if I go into an iRacing lobby, they're like, "Hey, Radman." So it's a little bit different. Like I was just a kid back then. I was the squeaker. I had my high pitched voice and everything. I was 12 years old. So just a few Jared, TCB, Bobby, Femi, all these guys, JJ, Marcus, who doesn't really do it anymore, but JJ, Bobby, Femi, Daniel Falkingham. These are all guys that are basically been pro drivers. JJ retired. Bobby Zielinski obviously is one of the best there is. Femi Olat's there. Daniel Falkingham's doing extremely well. I knew him from the Nork days. And then I'm racing with guys like TCB and Jared in this new league that I just joined that I'm streaming on tonight on Tuesday night. And it's more of like a laid back kind of just having fun with them. I've known guys like Jared and JJ and Bobby for 13 to 14 years now. So, and it's pretty cool. I'm so happy to see that I was beating Bobby on a consistent basis on Inside Line. I was way better. And now to see him just dominate he hasn't won a championship yet, but I still give him crap for that. He needs to win one. But to like be the best road course racer I've ever seen on iRacing, and for Femi to be in the Pro Series and these guys to be so fast and everything, it's a lot of fun to see them succeed and everything. So yeah, I have a great time with it, and I'm glad that I've actually been able to now reconnect now that I'm doing more iRacing and being able to do some more leagues. I've been able to reconnect with the guys that aren't in the Pro Series, that we're just having fun. So it's definitely a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought about reaching out to Bobby for a rematch of Split Screen on NASCAR Inside Line to prove that you're still better on Inside Line? I mean, you've played it more recently than he has, in fairness. So
was he better than me on the road courses? I think he was better than me on the road courses, but on the actual ovals, no, I was better. I was better. There was actually a time when I started in 2018, like when I started iRacing, I was just from the stop, and I got going, and my iRating was going up pretty quickly. And Bobby literally came to me and was like, if you try hard enough, you definitely have the speed to like be a pro if you want to. And I just kept saying, nope, never want to. Too much stress, too much work, too serious. Like that was my thing. Way too serious. I don't want to be that serious. I just want to make content and have fun. And so, yeah, from 2018 on, if I wanted to be a pro, if I put in the work, I think I could have, definitely yes. Now, absolutely not. I'm not motivated enough. I don't practice enough. And these guys are way too good now. Like they, from the get-go, they start and they just, man, like they're just so incredibly good. But maybe if I go 1v1 with Bobby on inside line, maybe I think I could give him a good fair fight.
I think that'd be cool. Maybe I'm pitching a content idea. I think that'd be kind of cool. I would love that. I think that'd be really cool if you could make that happen. But regardless, you mentioned you love creating content. You love doing what you're doing right now. But we've also seen in recent years how you've at times kind of shown some of your interests outside of NASCAR. You've made videos about a Tour de France video game. You've made videos about Arsenal because you're a huge fan of Arsenal in the Premier League, who finally had a bit of had a pretty decent year last year after being kind of down in the dumps for a long time. But where in what place in your channel kind of do some of those videos hold? Because obviously you primarily do a lot of NASCAR content, but you still find ways to kind of show off kind of your outside interests in your channel in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it really just depends on what people want to see. Like that the fact that Tour de France video got that much support was insane to me. I couldn't believe that. That was just simply because I played those games for a very long time. Like I played like Pro Cycling Manager 2010, like on this little laptop I had that was acting like an airplane when I would play it, because it was like, oh, hey, this is not a gaming computer. What are you doing? So I played those games for a long time, and I was like, yeah, I'll just upload a channel. Like people don't know that I like this stuff. So if I enjoy something and that week I don't have to really like upload certain things, like I could just do what I want, then cool. Like I will just upload that. But I know like the majority of things that get support are NASCAR based. So that's what I will do. I did try for a little bit making a second channel and trying to talk about Arsenal stuff, but I felt like I was cramming too much. Like it was taking away from the main channel, especially now that I'm streaming. I felt like uploading on the second channel, uploading on the main channel, and streaming. And trying to go to the gym and taking care of my dog and trying to have a social life. It was just too much. So I would like to talk about that stuff on a second channel, but the main channel, I don't want to like, if people want to join the stream, everyone knows I'm an Arsenal fan. I'll talk about Arsenal if they want to talk about that. But for right now, yeah, I think it's just mainly NASCAR stuff on the main channel and stuff like that.
I'll ask you this question as someone who's a Liverpool fan. What are you expecting from Arsenal the rest of the season?
Well, I would love to win one of the big ones, the Prem or the Champions League, especially the Champions League. But I'm like, when people ask me that, I am really, really, really happy with how my club is doing, the way they're being run, and everything. So if we finish third because of certain things that happen, unfortunate, but I'm fine with it. Like I believe more in the process of becoming a great club. And so I think we're doing an absolutely fantastic job. And if we come up short against Pep Guardiola and Oil Money City, I'm okay with it. Like it is what it is. So as long as we are playing well and continuing on this process, I think the results will come. If they don't come, unfortunate, but I'm not going to sit here and beg for us to win a Prem or beg for us to win a Champions League. Like things have to go your way. You have to get lucky. That's just the nature of it. I was 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. It was horrible. It was a terrible, terrible time. So I'm just really happy to be in the other side now and to see everyone really happy. And I see more Arsenal shirts and more Arsenal stuff out in here in Orlando. I see it. I never used to see this kind of stuff. People would kind of hide it. Now I see it. So it's a lot of fun. I'm really, really happy with how the club's doing. And it means a lot to me. So I'm happy that I could show people how much it means to me and the fact that we're doing extremely well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, trust me, I can relate to getting your heart broken by Man City because 2 years ago, I think it was 2 seasons ago when Liverpool got their heart broken on the last day of the season.
You guys lost by 1 point twice. Yeah.
Yep, we did, and then we lost in the Champions League 2 weeks later to Real Madrid, which was that was a disappointing way to end that season. But regardless, we can both relate to getting stomped by Man City at the end of the season. So we can both relate to that. And
well, we just beat them yesterday. So I'm 2 days ago. 2 days ago.
You
I'm
did?
very, very happy. Yeah.
I didn't notice that. Liverpool, I think we tied Brighton 2-2. So yeah. By the way, we're recording this, folks. By the way, on October 10th. So just for some context for where we're at. But yeah. So hopefully, I will wish you. Just for your sanity's sake, I will wish Arsenal the best the rest of the season.
Oh, no, I'm stress free. It was stressful when we were 8th and 15th and terrible. That was stress. Now it's just enjoying it. I'm having a great time.
I remember you tweeting or like mentioning like on YouTube videos, like I am incommunicado like from at this time because we're playing like Europa or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but I remember some of those times. So I was like, and trust me, I can relate as someone who's a fan of Chicago sports right now. Trust me, I can relate to not having a team to having teams being in stressful situations, but you're working your way up through there, which is really, really awesome to see and really cool to see. So, as you kind of look at your future, in YouTube, and the future for you is, I would say, you probably agree, as bright as it ever has been, because you're going to have a new NASCAR game coming out in a couple of years. You're going to be able to put out some new content here very soon. And that's exciting for you. So for you, you kind of have a long-term plan for 2025 and beyond. So, but what I'm more curious about is how are you going to fill that gap between late 2023 through 2024 into 2025 when iRacing releases that game, which when in 2025, we're not sure. I don't know if you've speculated on it on your channel. I think you said maybe around the Daytona 500, 2025 is what you guessed, if I remember right. But like, how are you planning on filling that gap during that time frame?
Don't know yet. That's the thing. I don't know yet. I definitely know I'm going to be streaming a lot more. I've only been streaming for 2 months, so I'm going to start streaming a lot more, and that's going to be one of the avenues. When it comes to videos, there are probably things, and our 2003 is definitely going to be making a lot of appearances in the near future. But there are things that I just don't know yet that I'm going to do that hopefully when I decide to do something that it will stick and people will watch, and we'll see about that. I am expecting maybe a little bit of a lull in 2024. That's my biggest worry, is that it will just like be really down. And so I just need to prevent that from happening. If I can prevent that from happening and keep trying to make fresh content, then 2025 is where it gets a lot of fun. That's when basically the entire channel is going to be like iRacing based, whether I'm still doing PC stuff or the new game. It's going to be a lot of fun back there. So yeah, it's really nice now, finally, after a long time, that there's clarity on it. And so that's really good for me. I'm very transparent on that too. Like, guys, this is how YouTube works. Like, I can make a video about a cow eating grass. You guys aren't going to watch. I need them to make the game. Okay. So I can play it and make the content. And people, I hope, respect me for like my honest opinions on the games. And so that's why I tell you as it is. Like, 21 Ignition, the weirdest thing about 21 Ignition was my first ever race on that game was the best race I ever had. And after that, it was never like that again. I don't know why, but it was like, oh crap, this is actually pretty good. And then it never was like that again. So, I got a little bit of hate for that because I was like, 21 Ignition is good. But I've changed a lot, like over the years, where I think a lot of people liked my rants and my heated takes. And then I just didn't want to be mad anymore about video games. Like, I'm in my mid-20s, like it is what it is. So I maybe don't go as critical as I used to, especially on motorsport games on NASCAR 21 Edition, where people wanted me to be really mad at them. And I was just like, hey, guys, it sucks. What do you want me to say? Like, I'm not going to get mad. And so people got a little bit upset with me for that. But it is what it is. So I don't know what's coming in 2024. But I do know that I'll have a lot of fun streaming. and the Patreon members and the Discord members and the people that watch all the time are going to help me out. And we'll see what we do the video. So the video side is just my one worry, because like I just want to make sure that the views are still up and the engagement's still up and everything's still up. But yeah, it's like in terms of classical content and stuff like that, I'm kind of out. Like I've kind of done everything except for NR 2003. So we'll see where it goes from there.
And as you look at 2025, as you look forward, you know, I mean, one of the things is that, you know, even as you mentioned, you know, you don't like to be angry, you know, all the time in your videos, which is understandable. I mean, you know, that takes a lot of energy, and that just, you know, it's not fun to just be angry all the time at a video. Regardless of that, people value your opinion and they value what you have to say about NASCAR gaming. I mean, I know I was one of those people, you know, for obviously for a long time, and still am, you know, would watch your reviews to get an idea of like what's the temperature of this NASCAR game. What are people saying about it? I remember particularly I was paying attention to you a lot for the NASCAR Heat games, and even through NASCAR 21 Ignition, even if I never played it, because I know how important it is to NASCAR itself. You know, as you head to that point, you know, how much do you think about the fact that people value your opinion and value what you have to say about it, because you know that it could have some impact on how people react to the game with their wallets, which at the end of the day is really what matters, and you have an impact on that. How does have you ever thought about that before, seriously?
Yeah, I have. So it means a lot to me. So that's why, like, I like. I mean, I don't know where the RealRadman part came from. I mean, it's just because I guess RR was a cool logo, but I like to keep it real. Like, I like to be honest with them, with people that watch me. So I'm just honest. Like, there are, you know, when I was talking with Motorsport Games and trying to help them, like I would tell you guys, like I'm talking to them, I'm trying to help them. But and the whole jokes about he's on the payroll and stuff. It's just I'm fine with that. I've never been paid like from that kind of stuff, because I want to have complete independency from independency from them, so that way I could give my honest opinions. And Motorsport Games did a lot wrong, but they also agreed with that. So they never restricted what I could say. They just said, here's the game, you know, do what you want, say what you want. And that's exactly what I did. So I always had a really good relationship with a lot of people there, especially like Rusty, for example, who everyone in the community loved, but he's no longer there anymore. So that sucks that like a lot of people there in the NASCAR side of things have now lost their jobs, and it is what it is. But on my end, yeah, I try to stay as independent as possible. And if there's a sponsored video, you know it, because there's a thing on YouTube that says this is a paid endorsement, and I'll tell you guys that's a sponsored video and stuff like that. So I keep it as transparent as possible. I think people enjoy that. On the literally on the NASCAR side of things, I have never been paid for a review. I've never been paid to make content on a NASCAR game. Never been paid to stream something. I've never been paid to say something nice. I literally have always just given my honest opinions on everything.
Well, and that's what we need. You know, that's what people like, you know, me and people in the NASCAR gaming industry, you know, that's what they need. They need to hear the honest reality of the way that games are. And I can attest, someone that's watched you for a long time, I remember back to the NASCAR Heat games. You give that unadulterated opinion, and you give also a very informed opinion. Like, someone like me would have never thought about the impact the Unity engine would have. So, you know, I mean, that's what you do. And, you know, in that sense, so as you kind of develop, kind of move forward, you know, just kind of tell me, you know, in your Cliff Notes version, you know, what's kind of your expectations for when this next NASCAR game is going to come out? What are you expecting from the very first game that iRacing is going to put out?
I do expect something similar to World of Outlaws, because Monster Games is behind the helm. So I kind of do know what to expect. Like, it is Unity engine. It is, it's going to be much better than NASCAR Heat. I know that. The one thing I don't know, I don't have any contacts at iRacing or Monster Games. I think Monster Games got upset with me over the Heat days because I criticized the Unity engine and stuff like that. So they haven't really reached out. Hopefully we can remend that relationship, and they'll be like, hey, you know, can you help us out or something? That'd be cool. I'd be happy to do that. But I think they were a little bit pissed with me with how critical I was on the Unity engine and stuff like that. I'm sure they can make a good game. Like I've said, I think the Tony Stewart game that they made after NASCAR Heat and the World of Outlaws game that they made are actually really big improvements for them. I think they've been doing a really good job there. What I don't know is I don't know what iRacing provides them and like where they're improving in that aspect. Like whether it's funding, whether it's other employees, I don't really know because I don't know anyone there. So I expect a much better version of World of Outlaws, which is already a really good game. So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't think this game's going to be bad. I just don't think it's going to be a fantastic thing with everything in it because there's not enough time to do that. And then what I don't know is, what does iRacing bring to the helm? Like, what are they going to do as a publisher? Because iRacing technically is not really the developer, they're the publisher, and Monster Games is the developer. So I'm very interested to see what they do and how they want to put that stuff in there, and what business practices they even use, like to make money. Like, the game sells to make money. Like, let's be real, it can't just. I think that was one of Motorsport Games' biggest issues. They relied completely on selling a game for $60, nothing else in it revenue-wise. It completely flops, and then you can't make any money because there's nothing in there to do it. So there's a lot of stuff in there that overall I'm expecting it to be a good game with a good single player and hopefully a working online, but stuff like, I don't know, like legend drivers and fantasy tracks and an incredible challenge mode and an incredible paint booth, these type of things I expect to wait for. While the first game, I expect like just a solid basic career mode, solid race now, big focus on gameplay, graphics, and the way the cars drive, because that's the foundation, and a working and solid online feature with a league racing option, hosted sessions option, quick race option, stuff like that. If those things happen, I am very happy for the first game. And then you can add all the dessert and the candy and the paint booth and challenges and all this other stuff. You can add that in later games. I'm completely okay with that, as long as you get the main game right. And it can work on Unity. It won't look as good as Unreal Engine and stuff like that, but it still looks good. It's not like bad. It's still good. It's just that it's not going to be, crazy graphics. And I'm okay with that, because I do know that Monster Games, the one thing they can do is make good AI. So I'm really excited about that. And I know that if the AI is good, you can have fun on there if they get the rest of the game right.
Well, absolutely. And thank you so much, Malad, here for coming on today here to talk to us, to, tell your content creation story, and also talk a little bit about, NASCAR gaming in light of the new acquisition of the NASCAR license by iRacing. Really appreciate you coming on here today, and wish you the best of luck in the future. And I wish Arsenal the best of luck, unless they're playing Liverpool.
Yeah, I think it's by Christmas, December 23rd or something is when we play.
I'd have to check the schedule, but
and it's at Anfield. Oh god.
Oh boy, that'll be interesting. So anyways, once again, RealRadman here on Next Gen Creators. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Wow, what a conversation that was with Malad Radman, talking about what he wants there at the end there from the next NASCAR video game. He also talked about some of what he wants in the future down the line and all the sorts of things that he wants, but also telling his story as a content creator, how he got into making videos, how he got into loving NASCAR, and also talking about how he attacks the challenge of not having a new NASCAR video game, or I should say a new quality NASCAR video game, for a long time, and how he's been able to attack that challenge of having to come up with very creative ideas for content. Really interesting to hear Malad Radman talk about that. Be sure to head to dailydownforce.com if you want to listen to other episodes of Next Gen Creators. We've talked with content creators such as Eric Estep. We've talked with the Iceberg, Jarrett Lundberg. We've talked with NFJJ, LA Productions. A ton of NASCAR content creators are on that site. Be sure to head down there for some Daily Downforce content. All of the daily articles that we write on all that is going on in the sport of NASCAR. And be sure to follow us as well on social media at Daily Downforce on Twitter, at Daily Downforce on Instagram. Also follow us on Facebook as well. Be sure to head there for some great daily NASCAR content. Once again, I'm Joshua Lepowski signing off for now. This has been Next Gen Creators with Malad Radman. Thank you, everybody, for listening.